Hello, I'm Justin Perkins. This is Talk Junkie. We're back. Not really with much of a standalone episode. I actually had an episode planned for this week, but I made a little detour. I also had a second part of the mailbag because we had that many emails planned. But wow, the reaction to the mailbag episode was fun. It was, and so I took a little time to process that, and wow. I am going to do the other part of the mailbag, so if I've not answered what you've sent yet, be calm. It's coming, but there's some people I didn't know listened to the show. I've become a popular lot, I guess. I don't know. But I don't really even know. This kind of like an odds and ends show. Like, there's some things I want to talk about. The first thing, it's not even really the elephant in the room. Anybody that, I don't know, like, you guys have no way of knowing, unless you're the ones that sent the emails, the reaction to the question about taking down the Confederate the Confederate statues. I just gave an opinion. Like, I don't feel that my opinion is so much more valuable than anybody else's. Hell, I'm wrong a lot, actually. Probably a lot more than I should be. I've thought many times about doing a errors and corrections episode of this podcast, but just 100 episodes in, I couldn't go back and watch everything and fix everything that I've said wrong. I'm not a fountain of knowledge. Don't come for that, but don't come expecting anything other than my opinion. And some of those opinions are informed and somewhat educated, and some of them are just how I feel, and that's okay. I mean, you know, that's kind of what this is supposed to be. I'm not trying to influence anyone. It's how I feel, and it's cool. Like, I have really good friends that don't agree with me on how I feel about rebel flags and Confederate statues. But if you send nasty, dirty emails to me, like, I'm not going to get on here and read your email and be like, oh, I'm so sorry that I hurt your feelings, and I'm a blankety blank, 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 you know. I'm not going to do that. This is not going to happen. And I shouldn't have to do that. I wouldn't expect you to do that. Do your own podcast. Get on Spreaker or get on any of many existing podcasting apps. It's free. Or you can pay for the package like I do, or you can get it free. You can do whatever you want to do. You can say whatever you want to say, and you can have your own opinion. It's okay. You said, one of you, that I'm a racist and a race hater, I think. I don't hate white people. I am white. No, I'm not against white people. But I was a race hater and a race traitor. And I got that once. And look, I really believe that's a troll. I don't know who you are. I may even know who it is if it's a troll. I'm not sure. But look, it is what it is. I'm not sorry. Okay? One email said I am the participation trophy of podcasts. Okay, that's fine. In a lot of ways, that's probably pretty accurate. I mean, I wouldn't ever expect my podcast to win an award. So, if you want to mail me a participation trophy award, well, I better not give you the address, but you can email it to me because you obviously know the email, and that's talkjunkie@gmail.com. But that's fine. I still feel like Confederate statues and the Confederate flag are the participation trophies of history. You didn't win anything. You turned against your own country. I don't get it, okay? That's as deep as I'm going on that. I'm not giving people the satisfaction. Because I'm not mad and I'm not upset. I thought it was highly entertaining. I really, really did. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it immensely. And I feel that I enjoyed getting to do the show. I enjoyed what I got to do the show about. But more than that, I enjoyed the people who enjoyed the show and sent me messages and said they enjoyed it. But even more than that, I enjoyed the people that didn't enjoy it. I enjoyed the people that didn't like it. It made my day. It made me realize that I find comfort in some people's discomfort. But it's okay. You don't like me. I get it. It's all right. I'm probably not everybody's cup of tea. I'm definitely an acquired taste. It's all right. But that's as deep as we're going on participation trophies today. Like I said, it's kind of just an odds and end episode. Just different things. Because there's so much stuff going on. So much stuff going on. And that was part of doing the second mailbag episode. It's like I have one person who sent 15 different emails, and each email was a different question because they want each question answered. And it's like, I appreciate it. Don't stop. I'm tickled to death, but I can't. It would take multiple mailbag, and that's a good thing. That's cool. That's a good thing. But some of these questions are topics that could be maybe for other, they could be encompass whole shows. And then some of them are just kind of stuff there's stuff that makes good topics, but I just don't want to dwell on it. It's not my thing. I'm not educated enough, and I don't want to dwell on it. Or I have feelings this is one big thing that I need to start maybe trying to get across more in the podcast, and it would clear up things like the people who were upset with the participation thing, and maybe kind of clear up where I'm coming from on a lot of stuff. I don't overvalue my opinion. It's just my opinion, and it can be wrong. It's wrong a lot. And it changes and it morphs and it grows. But it's just an opinion. I'm not sitting here. There's things that I feel strongly about, and I try to build a factual basis to have a strong examples for. I don't like the word beliefs, but for lack of a better term at the moment, beliefs. I do have some of those, but freedom of thought and freedom of mind and freedom of speech is one of those things. I'm big on freedoms, and I'm cool with people disagreeing with me. There were things, and because it just sticks out in my head about the participation trophies, I didn't sit down and write it, but it is something I need to start doing more of. And this is a prime example that there were people who said things and were like, okay, you said this, and I disagree, and it made me think. Something I tried to cover in the last one, and I don't know if I articulated it well enough or not, but a couple episodes back, before all the kind of shutdown I done, I kind of did a little COVID shutdown on my own there for a while and stopped with the podcast. A friend of mine, Brandon, mentioned, I had kind of went after our governor here in Kentucky, Andy Beshear, a little bit, and he's like, well, man, you never. He's a liberal, more liberal-minded person, not liberal like I would think of a classical liberal, I consider myself a liberal. I consider him more of a liberal like the party, just a far left Democrat. But he understands me attacking Trump, but he doesn't understand me attacking Andy Beshear. And I see why he feels that way. I feel like he feels that way because of a party affiliation that he has. But on the other hand, when I went back and listened to that episode, he was very accurate in what he said. I actually gave some good reasons for attacking Trump, but I didn't really give any good reasons for attacking Andy. And I feel the same about Andy today as I did that day. I have very little regard for him. But I have no regard for Pelosi or Mitch McConnell or Bernie Sanders or Donald Trump or George W. Bush. They're horrible people who do horrible things, and they're not, I have no regard for Biden. Biden's crime laws and stuff from the 90s and things that Biden's done. Biden's not done any good to anything. It's kind of like the Bernie Sanders argument to me, or the Pelosi argument, or the Mitch McConnell argument. Right? Any of these people. I'm almost 38. They've been in office most of my life. Some of them more than all my life, I assume. I think Pelosi, maybe 36 years, something like that. They've never done any of the things that they say, if you give me one more trial or if you give me a higher office, I will do. They've never actually done any of those things to begin with. They've never completed any of those things. They've never done anything beneficial to people. Ever. Not Bernie. Not any of them. They've all gotten rich being in office, including Bernie. Bernie's very well off, and he's been a lifetime politician, and that's what he is. So they're all the same. Like, we just want to demonize some and put some on a pedestal because they represent a party whose ideals on paper we agree with, but really those ideals never come to fruition. You know, the Republican agenda is never fully realized, because if it was, there would be no reason for you to keep coming back and voting Republican. Then you would be kind of free to vote where you want. The Democratic agenda is never fully realized for the same reason. You know, they kind of just volley back and forth. You know, African American rights was always a Republican agenda. African Americans were always protected more by Republicans throughout almost all of history. And then that changed. It was like, okay, look, this is not working for us getting people to the polls. You know, it really, it's that insensitive and that uncaring. It's like, this is yours now. Okay, and you can take Latins and immigration, and we'll do this, and gay marriage is yours. Like the Clintons were great flip-floppers. They got into the White House with Bill against homosexual marriage and gay marriages, and against abortion, if I remember correctly, staunchly against abortion and gay marriage. But then Hillary, in turn, tries to get in on the opposite agenda because that's become a bigger part of the Democrats' agenda. Free speech. In the early days of gentlemen like George Carlin, or even earlier back than that, gentlemen like Lenny Bruce and people of that nature, man, Republicans were the godfathers of anti-freedom of speech and political correctness, and rightfully so, because at that time, outside of Southern Democrats, they were huge in the Bible Belt. You know, they were the religious party, and I think they still are. I think they're still trying to hang on to that, and you know, that's an issue. I don't like the idea. I love the separation of church and state, and I think it's one of the most important things the United States of America does. And I think we should continue to do. But that was a big thing. But now, you know, it's flip-flopped so much. And the left is attacking free speech and free thought and free expression so much that I think it's even taken establishment Republicans off guard. And they're like, hold on a minute. I don't even know how to defend free speech because I've attacked it my entire career. You got to give us time to catch up. You're flipping the script way too quick, and we can't catch up. We can't get in there. We can't make this adjustment. We can't move on the fly that fast because you literally overnight abandoned one of your biggest battle cries and made it ours, and we don't know how to defend it. And Trump is a prime example of that. Like, Trump is all for him being able to say what he wants to say because, I mean, he's always been that way. And that's one of the few things that may have been a good trait, ideal of a good trait. It just didn't come out that way because it's a garbage mouth and a garbage mind, and he's as mentally inept as he is vocally inept. But still, you know, he's very big on his freedom of speech. He's just not much on other people's freedom of speech or freedom to express or freedom to protest or freedom to be, you know. So they're having trouble with that, but that's what it is. It's kind of just a back and forth thing. So I believe I need to do just an entire episode in some way over how I feel about young Andrew, or Comrade Andrew as I call him. And then I think, like, what does that accomplish? You know, I go back to this quote. It was one of the first ladies that kept me, you know. Basically, intelligent people discuss things and not people. So, you know, maybe I should try to be more intelligent and not discuss him as much in that regard, and I definitely don't need to dedicate a show just to him. I think me and this person, because I know this person personally, just needs to sit down and be like, look, man, this is how I feel, and this is why I feel that way. And if it was Matt Bevin, he would feel the same way. It's like, but this is how I feel. I feel the same way about him that I feel about Bevin. Do I detest Bevin more? Of course. But, my God, did you hear Bevin talk? I mean, a prime example of why I had no support whatsoever for Bevin. And did my duty and went third party, and that's why Bevin lost. And for people who believe that voting third party doesn't make a difference, case in point, Matt Bevin. I didn't really handle that. He had an accurate point, and I need to, in these podcasts, acknowledge more often when, okay, you're not, you just sound like you're attacking somebody for no reason. And let's talk about the policy. Let's talk about something more specific when we're bringing somebody up. And he was right about that, and I think that would add a lot to the show. But the show is about my opinion, and that's what it's going to be. And my opinion is, I'm going to say this one more time for those of you at home that absolutely love it, and you get your little fingers ready to type your messages and send them in. I believe the Confederate flag and Confederate statues are the participation trophies of history. And you didn't win when it comes down to it. You actually lost at every possibility. You actually didn't even come close to breaking even, because you lost in history, and a lot of these things were constructed, my understanding, looking back, because I did a little bit of research, I didn't do a ton, but my understanding is maybe, I know in the case of a lot of them, were built in the 60s during civil rights. Really it's kind of a spit in the face of civil rights, it seems like to me, more than a celebration of quote-unquote Southern heritage. It's called being a sore loser. That's what it's called. I would never build a monument to Antifa, and I would never build a monument to the Nation of Islam, and I would never build a monument to the Ku Klux Klan, and I would never build a monument to any loser throughout history who not only lost, but, it's hard to determine who is or isn't on the right side of things, because that's somewhat objective. But I think in this one, we can kind of agree they were on the wrong side. Unless that's the side you were on, then you're going to say that it was the right side. And hey, you lost, so, you have the right to an opinion, but you don't have the right to force a participation trophy down my throat. I don't think those things belong in any type of government buildings, anything of that nature, but they could serve a purpose in a museum to go, hey, some sort of losers who wanted some participation trophies, put these up in the midst of a battle for human rights, basically, in the 60s, and, we took them down because you don't glorify losers and traitors in history. It's just not what we do. But I'm going to get a ton more on that one, and that's okay. That's cool. That's what we do. Again, like I said, it's odds and ends show, so we're just going to touch on some stuff. Mask is a big thing, and I debated on doing an entire episode on masks, and I may end up down the road. I did not wear a mask at all, period, for, it is July, probably 14th, 15th, I don't know what today is, let's say 14th. I did not wear masks at all up until a week or so ago. I was given inaccurate, counterfeit, forged documentation, and so were some businesses I know of, claiming to be from the CDC, but most importantly, the one I seen, the one that affected us the most, is claiming to be from OSHA, and saying that not only did masks not help, which, scientifically, that is somewhat up in the air, I guess. I don't know. But not only that they did not help, but they, in fact, caused, more of an issue, and we were not to use them. And as even though I was not working at that time, I am again, but even though I was not working at that time, I work in the safety industry. And I'm like, wait a minute, it doesn't sound right, but it's OSHA. We have to comply with OSHA. Not only do we have to comply with OSHA, the easiest thing for us is to exceed OSHA. And I know small companies who really don't have much of a safety department and really don't have much infrastructure in that area going, so does this mean no mask or what? And we were under this impression for a long time. Somebody reached out. They reached out to the CDC. CDC's like, no, this is crazy. Call OSHA. They give them a number to OSHA. They called OSHA. OSHA said, we did not send that. Send us a copy of that. OSHA got a copy of it. They were like, hey, send this to so-and-so. And it went on down the line. And upon finding out that wasn't true and getting some good documentation and some good feedback and some stuff from OSHA that says, okay, and I'm going to paraphrase it, and I'm going to give you my opinion on what it says. Basically, we don't know if this is going to work or not, but it can't hurt. We feel that if anything, it definitely makes it better. So from that point on, I started wearing a mask. Yeah, I was wrong. It's like with this disease. At the beginning of this, when this first came out, I don't remember the name of the podcast. One of them was not another Corona podcast I did, but you could see my mind kind of change from scared crapless to, okay, what is this really? To scared a little bit again, back to, okay, we're numbers are finally starting to pan out. Things are not adding up. This isn't what they said it was. And I feel that way purely and wholly. My daughter has had it. Friends of hers have had it. I have a family member with it now who is very sick and is in the hospital and on a vent. There's other issues surrounding that, but I feel very much the same about it now as I did initially in the beginning, because the information weighed it out. It doesn't mean I was overly educated in the beginning and I was just right from the beginning. I just got lucky, and I just don't watch the news and consume news the way that most people do, and I don't fall very much for fear-mongering. And that's something I want to touch on. Apparently, it's only called fear-mongering if the left does it. If the right does it, it's called being informed, but it's still fear-mongering, so don't get that confused. Just because it's coming from the right, it's still fear-mongering, and it's only called hate speech if the right is doing it. If the left is doing it, it's called freedom of expression, even though the left doesn't believe in freedom of expression. So we need to start monitoring how we intake those things much better, because we're losing it on that one. But I do wear a mask at almost all times now. You're hardly going to catch me with that one. I work outside, and I work way away from civilization, basically, with very small crews of guys, and we are not within 6 feet of each other. We are quite often within joint of pipe shoes of 40-some feet, so 40 to 50 feet of each other. But I will wear a mask in those close encounters there. I'm not having people in and out of my truck. I got to go home to my family and stuff. I'm a private contractor. I drive my own private truck, so I don't let people in and out of my truck. I kind of handle that. I do not hand sanitize constantly. It's not good for your immune system. But I think information in this time is important. And I think how we get it, and I was misinformed, and instead of just sticking to my guns and being like, no way, man, I'm rolling on this, no mask for life, not because I'm right, but because it's what I want. It's what I want to imagine is right. It's what I want to imagine is real and correct. And it's not that I think or know that it's correct. It's that I don't want to go back and admit that I'm wrong. No, I was wrong. I'm going to wear a mask. It's okay. Now, having said that, I'm big on freedoms. I'm perfectly okay with an establishment saying, you have to wear a mask in my place. And if you don't want to respect a company's right to say, a business of any type, from gas station to bank, anywhere, especially a hospital, if you don't want to respect their right to say, you got to wear a mask in here, then don't go in. But don't cry about it. Don't whine about it. Just don't go in. Now, on the flip side of that, if someone comes to that establishment and they don't have a mask on, and you say you're not coming in without a mask, and they say, cool, then I just won't come in. Don't act like a child and berate them on not wearing a mask. They're not around you, and they're not in that establishment. They're choosing not to wear. That's their freedom. A government has no place to tell us we have to wear a mask. This isn't China. the information's not in enough to say that it's even conclusive that it's doing anything. It's getting there, and I feel myself, in all honesty, in my heart, that wearing the mask probably helped curb a lot. But our freedoms are our freedoms. And if those people are isolated from people who are abiding by the mask protocol and doing these things, then so be it. That's fair, and that's freedom, and that's the way it should be. So I'm fine with wearing the mask myself. I'm going to, because it's my personal choice, and I choose to do it. And I'm fine with companies and places that say, hey, you got to wear it. I support you 100%. I also support those who don't want to do it. And I'm not going to say bad things about you. I'm going to go back to, I have never in the history of my life believed that, well, I did when I was ultra-religious, but I'm no longer ultra-religious. I have never, outside of that time, ever believed that the abortion situation was as simple as right and wrong, as simple as black and white. It is a very gray topic. But the one thing that comes out of it, and I hate conservative memes, and the one thing that I always see as a conservative meme, it's my body, my choice, just like it is with abortion. That's a fair statement. It's a very accurate statement. The difference is, you don't like the statement. As much as I don't agree with a lot, that's a fair statement. It is their body, it is their choice. You have the right to limit your interactions with them, and companies, you have the right not to go in a place that refuses to enforce the mask rule. But a company, a business should have the right to not enforce the mask rule, to say, hey, you can come in here with no mask if you want. Just don't use that business. It has to go both ways. I seen somebody today for the first time kind of being crappy about not wearing a mask. And it sucked because it was in a convenience store, and I felt bad for the worker because I could see it in her eyes. She's like, you got to have a mask to be in here. And this dude wanted to argue. Like, don't argue. Don't give me a speech on freedom when you don't, and rights, when you don't want to respect the right of this company to say you got to have a mask. Now, if you want to say it's unconstitutional for your governor to mandate that you have to wear a mask, I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's just a flex move. It's just a power move. That's all it is. It's no different when Trump flexes and does a power move. That's all it is. And it's been shot down and ridiculed and laughed out. He doesn't have that power and that ability. We don't have dictators here. We got a president that would love to be one. We got a governor that thinks he is one. But that's not what we have here. We have freedoms here. And we still have them. We may be losing them daily. I don't really think we are. I think we're doing a pretty good job fighting for them. And I think that things like the governor not being able to do that is proof that we still have those freedoms. But just respect other people's right to choose. And respect other people's rights. And respect their freedoms. And don't get in their fight. Like, why? It's very simple. If you want to quarantine. And I mean, I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm just saying, if I've had people say to me, it's so stupid and this, okay, then call the herd. let them not quarantine. Lock yourself away. Come back when September's gone or November's gone, whatever the song is, after the election, and this thing, in my opinion, will die down completely after that. And hey, if it kills them out as quick as it's going to kill them out, you won't have to deal with them. I mean, that's not mean or cruel. That's natural selection. Go for it. But it's not going to happen. In two ways. One, people aren't going to start fighting over stupid stuff. And two, this is not going to kill that many people that it actually does that. And that's becoming apparent. I believe the death rate for the Spanish flu, which was with a much lower population, still had a much higher death rate. And I think was actually much lower on the contagion scale or whatever that's contagion scale, whatever the scale. I think it was at like 5% of the world population, or of the population in the U.S., something like that. Which I know the number of people who died was much, but so was, I think it's 300 million instead of 3 billion, or I don't know. But it's just numbers, not something. But anyway, you're looking at, I think the difference was between 5% and less than 1%, And with the flu in 2018, I think it's less than 1% death rate to 1 to 2%, something like that. And I remember it was Rand or Ron Paul the other day said, number-wise, we're not in a pandemic anymore. Like, I don't know. I mean, I see a lot of numbers floating around, especially from other countries that tend to say, yeah, we're not calculating this right. But, said that could probably get a whole episode on its own, and that's not what we're here to do today. But we were talking about information, and information with masks and things like that are important. But I've been listening to a lot of people. Obviously, I listen to a lot of Joe Rogan, but I listen to a lot of other people, and I've read a lot of things that a lot of doctors and research scientists have had to say. And I'm noticing a shift, especially with doctors who maybe have, and this is sometimes a bad thing and sometimes ridiculed, more of an alternative outlook. These are guys and gals that don't just jump to prescribe medications. And, a couple of really top doctors and big names and all the best people. We got all the best people, the best doctors. You won't believe how good those people. No, not really those people. Don't know who those people are. No. But, doctors who, this is their thing, especially infectious disease doctors, but not only that, but doctors who are dealing more with antivirals and things of that nature. I see the concentration in medical literature, the little bit that I can understand. There's a lot of stuff. I'll read a study and I'm like, I don't even know what that just said. But the little bit that I can understand and what I see around and guests I'm seeing on other podcasts and stuff, the shift is going from health education, healthy habits, and things of that nature, and leaving kind of the over hand washing, and not saying that those things don't need to be done. You need to, sanitation is a huge thing, obviously, with any type of infectious disease or any type of virus or anything, any type of spread of anything. But on the same hand, they seem to be looking more at vitamin intakes, diets, sleep, weight factors, prescribed medications, things of that nature, and that, when we get these novel coronaviruses, which is the common cold is very much. And I saw something, I believe, and again, don't quote this, it's easy to look up information. It's easy to email me and tell me I'm wrong. I'm not saying this to be a fact. I'm saying I can't remember the study. I can't remember if it was Harvard. I can't remember if it was, it's not Yale Medical. What's the other one? Maybe Saint something. But anyway, the medical but it was a reputable source that the common cold, which, I don't know how many people have that this time of year or if that's how seasonal that is, but that the common cold, being that it's on the same wavelength, kind of the same band as the coronavirus, because it's in the same family. Not to say that SARS-CoV-2 is the common cold, but they have markers, I guess, that are the same. You can get a false positive on a test due to either antibodies or antibodies because you've had it, which we believe my daughter on her second test got. Because the third and fourth test, which they'd done kind of back-to-back, 2 separate tests, popped up negative, and it was just days apart. And it had been almost 20 days since she'd been sick. And she never got the results back from the first test. She went and took it, nobody ever contacted her, and she never could get results back. So, I mean, I don't know how you track things like that. But, that if you had the common cold, it's possible that you could test positive. So it led one person to assume that it's possible, let's say, in undocumented, let's go back, 10,000 years ago, that, I guess that puts us right around Hunger Drive, somewhere around that, somewhere in the world there could have been an issue like this. And it could have had an impact, but if so, it would have more of a historical record to it. But maybe not only that far back, maybe 50 years ago, maybe that there's been morphs and change, obviously due to environmental changes on our part, by these coronaviruses. And we've had little novel viruses pop up that didn't have the same effect, but it was due to maybe a better, more healthy population due to, we're really taking a lot of antibiotics now from a lot of different things. So, maybe we could have handled this better at a different time, and maybe in the future we wouldn't have to worry about things as much as this. And I'm as guilty as anyone if we take better care of ourselves and change the way we do things, change the way we eat, and things of that nature. So I see a shift to that, and I think that's cool because that's more of a shift to a positive, proactive thing. Taking vitamin C, working out, eating better, changing our activity levels and stuff. That's more of a proactive change to something we can do instead of kind of just having to be afraid of it, because it is a scary situation, especially if you're an older person or if you have a lot of underlying illnesses. It is something that I don't know that here's a goal I can work towards instead of, man, I just got to try to fight to stay alive, and then you'll have to do it the next time and the next time. Maybe now it's more, okay, let me isolate myself, stay home, and let me start doing these things to do better, And I like that. I like the idea of having a proactive something to look for. And that information is starting to get out of there instead of as much fear-mongering, and just because it is a scary thing. Like, I understand that. It scares me. It scares me for my son. It scares me for myself because I had, pneumonia really bad in December. So, I was super sick, and if I'd had this on top of that, dude, I may not have come out, because at that point I didn't know to say, hey, don't put me on a vent. I didn't know to say, hey, I don't care if you get your $39,000 for the hospital or not, don't put me on a vent. Now I've got friends and people I know who have been family who've been put on a vent that I don't know if they'll get back off the vent, and they probably should have never been put on it, but it was, cash in that check, I don't know. Another thing I've seen today since we're on odds and ends, and it kind of relates to everything we've been talking about. It kind of relates to opinions and people being douchey and masks and health and COVID and all that good stuff. I was in a gas station, and a gentleman comes in and says, I need a pack of something menthol. I don't know exactly what he said, if it was Marlboro or Winston, what it was. And the lady behind the counter said, we've got a special. And he said, ooh, I'll take 2 packs. And he has a mask on, and there's a gentleman beside him, far off beside him. And the gentleman buying the cigarettes has a mask on, and I have a mask on. And the gentleman beside him is probably 6 feet away, and he just has his hand in front of his mouth. He doesn't have a mask. And the woman behind the counter looks at him and goes, sir, you need to put on a mask. And he goes, I don't have one with me, but, I just need to pay for my gas. I don't have a debit card, and apparently he'd had trouble finding somebody that was taking cash. And he's like, I don't have a debit card, or I need to pay cash, and blah blah blah. And the other gentleman said, well, you should think of that, and think of your health and the people's health around you before you leave the house without a mask. And I didn't say anything, and that guy didn't say anything other than sorry, and I snickered. And the guy getting the cigarettes looked at me and said, you've got a mask on. Why do you think it's so funny? And I said, well, I don't really think it's that funny that he don't have a mask on. So what I think's funny is you just bought 2 packs of cigarettes. I said, you look like the type of guy that would roll up next to somebody and light it up and tell them about what a hard day you've had doing whatever it is you pretend to do for a living. Because, let's be honest, it's 11 o'clock and you're in flip-flops. You're either sitting home or not doing nothing. I don't know. Maybe you're off for COVID. I don't know what your deal is. But you're going to smoke that cigarette, and the studies are out there about secondhand smoke. And the studies are out there about what that cigarette's doing to you and what the nicotine addiction has suckered you into and what the chemicals in the cigarette are doing to kill you. And you're killing yourself every day. And you're trying to kill people around you, and the dude just walks out. He doesn't even let me finish. And I think it's because he knows, here he is preaching, just on a pulpit. It's like anybody else who believes that they are better and more valuable than you. He left because he does do those things. I almost guarantee it. Not because I'm a prophet or I know everything or I'm super intelligent, just because you can see in somebody's face when you hit a nerve that's pretty accurate and they don't want to discuss it. How many times has he sat and smoked within 4 foot, 3 foot of someone that has damaged their lungs a little bit? This dude may not be sick. This dude may have never been sick. He may not have had the first symptom. He may have quarantined this whole time. He may be completely healthy, and this is a one-time thing. He may wear a mask all the time. And even though it may have been an ill-advised thing, it's maybe the only time he ever did it. But this guy, who probably countless times, hundreds of times, thousands of times, I know because I used to be a smoker, and I used to be a jerk, and I've done it, because I didn't realize it, and I didn't realize how bad I was, and I look back on it now and realize what a douche I was. How many times he got somebody in a car with him and smoked in his car, and they've had to ride with it, or sat with a family member, or smoked in his house, or smoked in the break room, or smoked outside of his company, wherever he works, or whatever he does, but he's put that smoke on somebody that doesn't want it. But in that moment, in that time, on something he can't prove even exists in this guy, that this guy, for all intents and purposes, may not have this, and even if he does, he may not be able to transmit it, and this guy may be like 3 or 4 people I know, and if he does get it from the guy without the mask, may only be sick for a day, may only be sick, may not even feel sick or know he's sick at all, but in turn what he's doing could kill him stone cold dead. And he's voluntarily doing it, but he's knowingly doing it to other people, openly doing it to other people, unapologetically. Because see, it's not about being right, being wrong. It's about feeling good about yourself, being able to call somebody out for something that you identify with as being wrong. I don't know. I could be wrong. I could be so far off base it's not even funny. But you can see what this guy's doing. As soon as he lights up that cigarette, I can see the smoke. And I know that in the smoke are carcinogens. And I know that in the smoke are harmful things. And I can see it. And I can prove it's there. It's accessible. It's available. It's in hand and visually provable. But he'll ignore all the wrong he's doing, and he'll ignore everything wrong about what he is doing to other people. But he'll attack something he can't see and something he don't even know exists in that person. I'm not saying that the disease doesn't. I mean, that dude could easily have it. We don't know who has it. But it's that thing of self-reflect a little bit, man. Self-reflect a little bit. Because I can admit I was wrong. I can admit I was that douche. I can admit I was that crap person. I can also tell you, Creating the Perfect Slaves is out. It's only available for the rest of July. We're almost out of time. It's only available for the rest of July at the Red Spotted Newt, READ, in Hazard, Kentucky. Get it quick. Get down there. We've got a book signing come up, I believe, August 1st, 3 to 5, somewhere in Hazard. I'll get you those details later. If you don't want my book, go get a great book from there. There's some great stuff out. I don't know. Don't suck, don't die, and don't be bad to other people. And we'll be back, and keep the emails coming to talkjunkie@gmail.com. I love the emails. And if they keep coming at the rate they're coming in, and you guys keep participating at the rate we participate, this is maybe an all-email show. I don't know. Everything may be a mailbag show. Who knows? We're pushing this one to the limit. It's a 45-minute cap on these episodes right now, and we're at 44:10 before I hit this slow jam to take us out.